Hello, Kitty. Hello, Rupert. Well, thank you for joining us together and to share your project, your journey with other customers. I know they'll find it really, really useful. Could you cast your minds back when you decided to have an extension and what you were trying to achieve? What was your dream at that point?
Well, we were trying to actually find a way of getting an extra bedroom into the house so that we could use that on an occasional basis. But at the same time, we didn't want it just to be a bedroom. Ideally, we wanted it to be used for something other than that. So you could have more of a day room, you could kind of enjoy it, have drinks there, and it would be more of a garden room as well. So it kind of had an unusual double brief. On the one hand, we wanted somebody to be able to sleep in there if they needed to, so it needed to be able to keep out the light. And on the other hand, we wanted to make the most of having as much light as possible by having more of a kind of a day room to be able to use, kind of read in and enjoy a kind of inside and outside moment.
Yeah, I can ask what the issues that you were concerned about and what prompted you to look at shading?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, obviously keeping the light out is a natural part of that if you want to make sure that a room can be used as a bedroom. Otherwise, I guess you'd just use an eye mask or something. So that was one issue. And then the second issue is we'd heard about people with conservatories and orangeries and things like that that had big issues with heating, as in the room would become too hot as a result of not being able to shade. So having the ability to shade the room when you want to in a kind of more flexible way became part of the kind of design brief.
And because it's a multi-purpose room, there's a chance that we'll be down here with a laptop, and obviously there could be glare at certain times of the day. So we just wanted to have, the options to install a variety of different solutions depending on the use of the room at that particular time. So we got 2 teenage children, so it's just, it was future-proofing our project.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And you contacted WindowTreat, but before then, did you look at any other options?
We looked at a bunch of different other options. So those included things like manual blinds rather than electric blinds, having shutters, all sorts of different approaches, or not having blinds at all. But ultimately, we kind of felt we wanted to invest for the long term, and that meant getting it right first time with whatever the top spec would be or the best specification we could get to create the kind of design brief that we had.
I think you also wanted a bit of a wow factor too.
Yeah, it's nice being able to use a remote control to get the blinds going up and down. So I think that helps.
Yes, and then you contacted WindowTreat. How did you find us?
That was through Google search and looking online. So kind of did a bit of research to see who did these kind of blinds, and came from there.
One of our constraints was above us. You can see that we have a lantern, and we knew we wanted quite a big lantern when we were designing this space. And so ensuring that we could have a blind that would cover the full length of our large lantern. And from the research that Rupert did, we didn't think there were many people who had the skill set to design such a blind. I think that the window blinds are relatively more straightforward. So it's the complication really of the one above us.
And so you contacted WindowTreat, and then Chris helped you. Can you describe the process and how it worked for you?
Yeah, effectively we had a number of calls to look at what exactly we were looking to build. And actually at that stage, the orangery itself wasn't built. So we were trying to build the blinds in from scratch, which meant that measurements could only really happen once the building was up. But we also, it allowed us to build the blinds into, in an integrated way. So so they become a lot more discreet rather than trying to deliver that in or implement that afterwards.
I think that's particularly true because it's mostly a day room, actually, and you don't need the blinds a lot of the time. We really wanted them to be hidden away. So I think at one point we'd actually looked at the blinds that sit between the double glazing, but then we're told that that's actually not a good idea because there's so many chances of that failing and then you can't resolve it. So when we found out that we could have these boxes that the blinds retreat into, and therefore most of the time you're completely unaware that there are blinds installed in the room at all, that really appealed to us.
Yeah, it just makes it look that little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, the whole process I think was pretty easy. He talked us through what the different options were for blinds, for materials, what would work better for this very large lantern that we've got rather than just the up and down blinds, what would work as the best approach to hide the blinds, and what kind of systems we could use, whether we wanted to get something, for example, that was voice activated or just a remote control activated solution.
Yeah, and how did you find doing all that online on a video conference with Chris?
I think it's pretty easy to do, actually. It's just kind of explaining what the brief is, and he walked us through it. So it was all pretty straightforward as a process.
Lovely. And so we're delighted you trusted WindowTreat with your business. You then had the installation, well, the survey, then the installation. Did that go well for you?
It did. I mean, actually, the thing that jumped out to me in that was there were a few little marks on the blinds themselves. And I can imagine a lot of suppliers would just go, oh, don't worry about it, or skipped over it, because it's quite a bit of effort to go back to the suppliers of the blinds themselves and say, look, there are marks on these blinds, can you change them? I didn't need to do the chasing of that. I didn't need to raise that. It was the people who were doing the install themselves said, look, I can see some marks on these blinds. We're going to get back to the suppliers for you and get some new blinds in the right material, because the material itself is marked. So I thought that kind of proactive approach, rather than needing to chase things myself, was very reassuring, but also just shows that there's a good quality standard and approach that WindowTreat have got.
Yeah, we wouldn't run away from anything or take shortcuts. It needs to be right, and to our satisfaction too. And we need to be fussier than our customers, and that's the right brand. So, well, thank you for that feedback. So now you've got the blind, and you're worried about heat. Kitty, you mentioned about glare on screens when you're using your laptops, and the ability to use it as a bedroom. Has it met the brief?
Well, we slept down here just to test it out. Behind us is the sofa bed. We slept down here last weekend, and the difference when we had the blinds down, the heat that were in the room to when we opened them in the morning was quite remarkable, actually. It was a particularly cold night, so it was very clear how much heat that the blinds kept in. And also the noise because we had some rain onto the lantern, and obviously it was quite loud on the lantern, but when the blind came across the lantern, it really reduced the noise of the rain on the glass as well. We haven't been here, the conservatory's not been up for a summer, so the full glare that we'll probably get in a few months' time, we've yet to test. But the springtime, so most of the time we're in here, it's a really lovely space at the moment. We haven't needed to put the blinds down particularly, except for when either our friends, family, or when indeed we ourselves came to sleep in here, and then we found it very effective.
Oh, that's good news. And my last question, the million-dollar question really, is: would you recommend WindowTreat to friends or family?
Yeah, very much so. I think the process went as well as it could have done, and you were helpful guides throughout the way. So yeah, very happy to recommend you.
Thank you. Can I be cheeky? I said that was my last question, didn't I? But I can see you got the remote in your hands, Rupert. Would you be able to draw the blinds backwards and forth? You have for our customers out there, you have a twin Athena. So there are actually two blinds that meet in the middle.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do all of the blinds all at once rather than them individually, but it is possible to do them individually. And so we've got the left side you can do, the sides that you can do, the doors that you can do, and the ceiling you can do. But this is all of them together. So eventually, hopefully, you'll see these coming down. I might need to move this slightly so. And so what you'll have heard there is that the blinds on the sides have stopped, so they've got to the bottom automatically, and the other blind is beginning to connect to the top. There you go. That's the blinds closed.